Angie Beta with Town Square Buzz, and welcome to today's segment of Town Talk, where we're continuing our discussions with the at-large city council candidates, and today we sit down with Jeremiah Hammer. Hi, Jeremiah.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us on Town Square Buzz.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks again. I know it takes time, and we'd like to spend a little bit of time getting to know you.
Sure.
So tell our readers a little bit about yourself.
Where would you like me to start?
Oh, let's see. With the interesting name, which made me, of course, think of MC Hammer. Any relation?
Yeah, no. Actually, my name, Jeremiah, my dad picked, partially for the biblical reference, but also because his college roommate had a black lad named Jeremiah, and he thought it was a cool name. And then Jeremiah Joseph. Joseph's my middle name, and that's what he had. He wanted me to be nicknamed JJ as a kid, and that's where that came about. And I stuck with J through most of my childhood, but.
So we can call you Jay.
You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. So you've been in McKinney about a year, and you were before that. Before
that, I was in Plano, Texas. I lived at the shops at Legacy and around the Plano area for about 7 years.
Okay, and what brought you to McKinney?
Well, I decided to buy a house last March after I bought my first Jeep, and I was up in Salina looking for some property to go buy and drive around in the mud, and I was pretty disappointed with what I found out there, and was actually just passing through McKinney on the way to Murphy, and saw a house on Virginia. It dawned on me that I didn't need a bunch of land or a new house. I needed something here, something that, something kind of struck a chord and reminded me of my childhood and Long Island, New York and whatnot. And a week later I had an offer on this house.
And here you are.
And here I am.
Tell us a little bit about your background. What have you been doing and up to now?
I think what haven't I been doing might be a better way to put it. I have I entered into the corporate world back in 1999 and was working in call center operations and management for a financial services firm. Got recruited by Yahoo to go work for those guys down in Deep Ellum in a startup that they were funding, and we ran that for about 2 years, and then from there a group of us took over a couple of software startup companies, and that kind of set the trend for me for the years following to really focus on building things, and that's where my passion lies, is just in creating things. So I've worked in the enterprise software space, consulting, business services, and executive management and consulting for the last 10 years. Okay,
and now you're doing what in McKinney?
Well, my primary business is through Sustainable Ventures, a company that I founded. It's in shipping. I focus on shipping antiques, furniture, collectibles, and artwork affordably. It was something that came about just because I bought this house. I had no furniture, and the things that I was winning at antique auctions, I couldn't affordably ship here. And I saw an unfulfilled need and filled it, and found that there was other people who could leverage the services that I provided, and so I stuck with it. And it's been a blessing to me to be able to work from home and be able to work on my house and be here and have something that helps generate, sustain me and generate income, but also allows me to go focus on things that are interesting, and it's not about work first. It's more about work just pays the bills. For me, it's about exploring and learning and just finding things that I'm passionate about and growing on those.
Okay. So necessity was the mother of invention.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned things that you're passionate about. What are those things? What drives you? What are your passions?
For me, it's just to learn. If I'm not learning something new, I'm bored and I'm fidgety, and I'll just drive myself crazy. So for me, it's about learning anything that I find interesting. I really love behavioral psychology, philosophy, science, math. I'm also an avid gardener, especially now that I have a house and a yard. Being able to leverage all the resources that are around me to produce something that either sustains me physically or provides for my family, it's important. And so really when I talk about things that I'm passionate about, it's anything that can help give me more time to just continue to learn and to grow, and to be able to share that with other people, because a lot of folks are they make themselves so busy that they forget about living, and that's what that's the important thing to do.
Okay. So you've thrown your hat in the ring to run for the at-large city council seat in the May election. What experience do you feel you bring to the table? What's your strength?
My strength is in efficiency, and not for the sake of living like a pauper or anything of that sort, but rather really finding how to most effectively leverage the resources around you in order to produce something or do something, or to enable one to go do something bigger than yourself. My experience in the business world has spanned a multitude of different industries. I've consulted with executives of Fortune 500 companies down to individuals on how to just live better. From a personal level, I've run zero debt for over 6 years now. I don't watch TV, I don't use credit cards. Everything I've done, I've accomplished on my own. And that logic applies not just on a personal level, but it applies to business, it applies to government. And the third component is that I can't be critical of something that I'm not involved in. And I think it's easy to stand back and lob stones at something and say, oh, this stinks and it doesn't work. But if you're not doing anything about it, you're not willing to put your name behind it, then what's the point? You're just complaining.
So can you give me an example of your financial expertise, shall we say, with regard to something that you might change in the city budget? Or how would you use your expertise to be able to apply that to the city as a city official?
Well, as a city official, I think it's important to first take time to look at something. It'd be easy just to sit in this chair and say, oh, I'm going to cut budget here and put it there and everything will be hunky-dory. But the reality is, I've been in McKinney for a year. A big component of my first 6 months to a year on city council is to really understand what's going on. For me, I think that's of the utmost importance. It's not an idea of come in, we're just going to slash budgets and cut everything. I think we've all seen that our legislature is looking to cut teachers' budgets in lieu of all these other looming items, and quite frankly, I think that's ridiculous. I think if you take a look at McKinney, it's been around for 163 years. We've run off ourselves for 163 years, which a lot of cities...
We're pretty sustainable.
We're very sustainable, and we should credit ourselves for that. And to that end, look at the resources that we already have here. Look at the population of kids that we have here. You want to double in population? You do that by retaining the people that live here. So let's make an investment in our school systems, not just in putting in bigger roads so we can attract a company to get here, to move their headquarters here, but really let's take a look at investing in the resources that are here so that they want to plant their roots, so to speak, and stay here as well and raise their families and grow McKinney organically.
Okay, so as you're talking about that sustainability piece, how do you feel that we can best become a sustainable city in the future?
Well, I think we should first recognize that we are sustainable already. I think what's critical and what's most important is to kind of move away from the mindset that we have to constantly look outside of our borders and outside of our city in order to solve all our problems. More often than not, and it's a philosophy that I follow, is the simplest solution is most often the correct one. To that end, let's really evaluate what do we truly have here? What are McKinney's core competencies from an economic perspective, from a business perspective, and take a look at, are we leveraging them to the best of our ability? And if we're not, how can we arrive there so that when we hit peak efficiency at something, then we can say, we've mastered this, now let's move on to, we can look outside and how do we enhance what we currently have.
So what drives you to step up and run for that city council seat now? Was there something that when you got to McKinney you saw needed changing, or what drives you to step into that role?
There's a couple of things. I think there's something in the water here. If you take a look at the folks that have lived just in this house, or the two houses on this block, this is a epicenter of political activity.
Okay.
The Abernathy daughters were very active in the women's suffrage movement. Mr. Abernathy was the first fire chief of McKinney and built this house and helped build that church with Dr. Foote that's right next door to me. So I think there's something here, but on a personal level, the big thing for me was just all the blessings that I got from moving here. I didn't know anything about the history of this house or the area until after I bought the home. So it wasn't like I got to have a historic place and here is one, but it just found me. The second thing that really drove me is the disparity between like the homes on College Street, and then if you go, you know, north or go across the railroad tracks, there's a huge chasm between, for lack of a better word, the haves and the have-nots. And I think that everybody that lives in McKinney deserves the opportunity to at least do something greater than themselves. And my goal is to be able to share what I know, what I've experienced, in the hopes that someone else might be inspired to do the same thing, and really just to be an example. You know, it's not about how much money you can raise or how hard you can beat your chest, but rather just go do stuff, because if you do it, it's tough for someone to say that you're not doing anything.
Okay, let's come back to that thought in our next segment.
Okay.
That wraps up today's segment of our talk with Jeremiah Hammer, who is running for the at-large city council seat. Check back and join us as we continue our conversation and find out what he thinks are important issues that our city is facing.